Welcome to Lingua Latina. This is Chapter 1, Lesson 2. This is Mr. K. In this tutorial, we'll go through the first couple paragraphs of Lesson 2. So open your book and look at the Lesson 2, where it starts with Nilus fluvius magnus est. Let's practice our pronunciation. Read with me. Nilus fluvius magnus est. Tiberis non est fluvius magnus, Tiberis fluvius parvus est. Rhenus non est fluvius parvus, sed fluvius magnus. Nilus et Rhenus non fluvii parvi, sed fluvii magni sunt. Danuvius quoque fluvius magnus est. Notice the pronunciation of two-syllable words. The accent always goes on. This is the second to the last syllable, which is called the penultimate syllable. In three-syllable words, it will always go on the second to last syllable unless it is short. If that syllable is short, it goes on to the third to last syllable, which is called the anti-penultimate syllable. So nilus fluvius, notice that you put the accent on the u here, fluvius, because the I here is short. There's no macron over it, and it's not a diphthong. Okay, so hopefully your pronunciation was good. You may want to practice that again. Now let's go through the second. After you've practiced pronunciation, let's practice getting this into English so that it makes sense. Nilus fluvius magnus est. Nilus, if you see on your map, is the Nile River. Fluvius, we know from the picture at the beginning of the chapter, is river. Magnus, we've seen that before, and maybe you can think of derivatives for this, means large, and est means is. Notice the word order in Latin. Often the subject comes first, and then you have, well, here you have your predicate nominative, but also you can sometimes have your objects. You'll have your objects, and then often at the end, the verb. So if you translate this in order, it'd be the Nile, a river, large, is. But when we translate into English, and when you work with a partner, you should put this into an order that makes sense in English. So the Nile is a large river. And this is how Latin translation often works. It goes from the front to the back, and then bounces back and forth in the middle. Okay, so the Nile is a large river. Tiberis non est fluvius magnus. The Tiber, that's the river that runs by Rome, non est fluvius magnus, not is a large river. The Tiber is not a large river. The Tiber, fluvius parvus est. The Tiber is a parvus river. Here we have in the margin, it tells us that parvus is the opposite of magnus. Before I said the Rhenus was the Rhone, it's actually the Rhine River, which is in Germany. The Rhone is in France. And the picture shows the Rhenus, the Rhine. The Rhine is not a small river, but a large river. The Nile and the Rhine are not small rivers, but are large rivers. Fluvii magni, meaning large rivers, fluvii parvi, small rivers, and here we see the note that fluvius magnus, a large river, fluvius parvus, a small river, fluvii magni, large rivers, fluvii parvi, small rivers. Danuvius quoque fluvius magnus est. The Danube is also a large river. Now, you should pause the recording and try to do what I just did, translate this paragraph into good English. Now that you're back, we're going to read this with understanding in the Latin. Nilus fluvius magnus est. Tiberus non est fluvius magnus, Tiberis fluvius parvus est. Rhenus non est fluvius parvus, sed fluvius magnus. Nilus et Rhenus non fluvii parvi, sed fluvii magni sunt. Danuvius quoque fluvius magnus est. Okay, so when we read it that third time, we try to read it with understanding in the Latin as Latin. Now I'd like you to take this the second paragraph here with Corsica insula est, and practice all three steps. Read it, translate it, and reread it with understanding. And then you can finish your chapter, this lesson, and do the exercises. Good luck.